I say orange because I'm a Jewish person from Florida and New York, and my natural way of saying it is orange. Horrible orange. You're canceled. I'm a mess. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Amateur Gourmet Show. I'm your host, Adam Roberts, and today we are making nachos. People love nachos, just the word. You probably got very excited. There was probably like a tingle in your spine. Everybody loves them. And what I love about making them is they're so versatile. You can make them with vegetables, you can make them with chili, you can have meat, you can have chicken. Today we're making it with black beans, and I'm going to cook them with all these spices and stuff. So it's going to have black beans, it's going to have cheese, it's going to have pickled vegetables. So let's start. So our first technique, which is a really popular technique, is to do a quick pickle. We're going to pickle a bunch of stuff to put on top of the nachos later, and you want to start this first because it gives it time to sit and pickle. So when I do a quick pickle, I like to use apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to put like a bunch of apple cider vinegar in here. I add a little sugar. I'm not going to use all of that. Then you whisk that in, and then you add a little salt. And the main thing you have to add, which I learned the hard way, is you do need to add water because otherwise it is too acidic. So I'm going to add a splash of water. So you've got a red onion. You definitely want to do red onion. And when you shop for your nachos, think about color, because when this all comes together, we want it to be colorful because you eat with your eyes first. So we're going to slice that and drop that in the mixture. So here we go, it just goes right in. And I like to break up the onion when it goes in so that you have individual onion pieces. And now we're going to do radishes. The best way to slice your radishes for this is to use a mandolin slicer. And it's great because it gets you thin slices, but it's a little terrifying because you can slice your finger. So let's see if I can do it without hurting myself. Well, the other option, if you don't want to use a mandolin, which is this is a good time to show you, is just to slice it thin. And I actually think right now it's going to look prettier when I slice it because we got a little bit bigger pieces. Yeah, those are prettier. Okay, so we've got a bunch of radishes in the pickling brine. You've got a lot of onions in there, and the final thing I'm going to add, do you like heat, Christopher?
Love some heat.
Okay, so these are red Fresno chilies, I think. They just said red chilies at the market, but they're spicy. And if you don't like spicy, you still want a little chili heat, you can get rid of the seeds and the membranes. This is where all the heat is. But since we want some heat, I'm just going to go for it. And then you just slice it thin. So they're not only there for color, but they're also there for their heat and flavor. Yeah, all these seeds are going in. I'm gonna do one more. Okay, so these are in, and that's it. This is our mixture, our pickled mixture, and you want to make sure as best you can that everything is submerged in the liquid, otherwise it's not gonna pickle. So my biggest piece of advice today, in today's episode, has to do with spices. Now, one of the things chefs will always tell you is to replace your spices often because they lose their flavor. That is true, but to be honest, like I still have stuff in there from like my childhood. Like I do have old spices, and they just, you're not going to go spend a fortune on star anise if you've only used it once and you're not going to use it again for 5 years. But that said, I keep 3 spices in constant rotation, and I buy them whole. And those spices are coriander seeds, cumin seeds, and fennel seeds, which are in the window. And those are my 3 favorite spices, and I buy them whole because they are so much more fragrant and so much more powerful if you toast them. This is coriander seeds. And then cumin seeds, of course, you know cumin, or as Teresa Giudice from the Real Housewives of New Jersey says, cumin.
Like a million ingredients, like cumin.
Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of her. But she also says ingredients instead of ingredients. So this already smells delicious. And then we're gonna add it to this little skillet. And when I'm adding this, I'm not measuring, I'm just thinking about how many black beans I'm gonna have. And I think this is the right amount. So right now we're gonna toast these, and then once they're, the main thing you have to know about this is when they're very hot, you don't wanna grind them because they need to cool a little bit. The other thing about grinding spices is there are lots of ways to do it. I'm gonna use a coffee grinder because it makes it easier. But if you're feeling chefy, you could get like a little mortar and pestle and grind them that way. And the advantage to doing that is you get more texture. So by the way, when you're doing this, you want to monitor it. It can go from, not burnt to burnt very quickly. The real telltale sign, and I'm sure Christopher can vouch for this, that you start to smell it. You smell it?
Which I already do.
Yeah. So we're almost there, and it's starting to smoke. So, oh, it was so sad the other day. My smoke alarm went off because I was cooking something, and Winston started whimpering, and then he hid in the closet, and he wouldn't come out of the closet. It was so sad. So as we are letting the spices cool, I'm gonna prep this is called mise en place. It's a French term. It means getting everything prepped before you start cooking, because you don't wanna be like cooking the onion and then not have the garlic ready to go when it needs to go. So we're gonna get everything ready to go. And for the base of these black beans, we're gonna use onion, we're gonna use garlic. Now I bought something very controversial. I have a feeling if we get hate mail from this video, it will be because I'm gonna add an orange pepper. I think the #1 thing that's the most hated food, by chefs at least, is bell peppers. Anyway, I'm adding this not just for the flavor, but for the color, because I want that little pop of orange. The other color I'm gonna add a little habanero. Habanero is my favorite chili. I love it because it's fruity and it's hot, just like me. The most shocking thing that I'm gonna add to this mixture is this. Not the leaves, so this is cilantro, and again, people have strong opinions about cilantro. I'm gonna add the stems. So this is the boring part where I'm gonna chop the onion. All right, I think that's enough onion. Also because my eyes are tearing up. Okay, so now we've got our garlic cloves. We don't normally put garlic in at the same time as the onion, but we're just gonna do it today because we're just feeling crazy and wild. Okay, we're almost there, so we're gonna do this habanero. I'm just using a little bit of it because keep in mind we have all those pickled Fresno chilies. Okay, so I chopped the habanero. Now, what do we think about the orange bell pepper in here? I like bell pepper, I like the color. Okay, so cutting these small. I think this is a good idea. I'm glad I added this. I don't know why Christopher was so against it.
Didn't say a word.
Ooh, those onions really threw me for a loop. But it's good to cry. You let it all out, you know? I could probably save thousands of dollars in therapy just by chopping onions with a dull knife. My therapists are always trying to get me to cry. I never can do it. Okay, so I'm throwing in these cilantro stems. So look how pretty that looks. This is our base. Now we have to grind our spices. Okay, so we're gonna grind this. We're looking for a coarse grind. Okay, there we go. Ooh, it smells so good. All right, we have all the stuff that we need. We're gonna start by heating this pan. I'm gonna use olive oil. We're gonna add all these are called aromatics. And we're gonna add a pinch of salt. Always season your food when you're making it. A good pinch of salt, actually. And we're gonna start cooking. I'm gonna lower the heat a little because I want the onions to soften without the garlic burning. The next stage is to add the tomatoes, and the reduces. This is 1 can of diced tomatoes. And again, we're gonna season. Anytime you add something, you wanna add salt. So I'm gonna add the beans now. I mean, that looks amazing already. And what do? We have to season it. Just a little salt. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to add the spices. These were already toasted though, so I'm not as concerned. We're gonna add the spices now. Look at all those spices. And there's apparently a sporting event every year. I don't know what it is, but it's like a big game where people eat nachos.
The Tonys.
Tony Awards.
Yeah.
Tony Awards. So this is a great thing to make for the Tonys. But if you're not into sports, I totally get that. What I'm trying to do here, and we'll see if it happens, is get this to be really thick, almost like refried beans. And then we're gonna use that in between the layers and hope that it doesn't turn soggy. That is the worst thing that could happen today is that we would have soggy nachos. The other worst thing that could happen today is that somebody breaks through our front door and stabs us to death.
Ow.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. My secret ingredient here is going to shock you. It's truly going to chill you to your core because it has nothing to do with Mexican food, and it's probably the last ingredient that you would ever think of going into something that was going into nachos. And that ingredient is balsamic vinegar. And just adding a little tiny drop of balsamic and stirring that in will help balance it out. Now these are getting nice and thick. Look, there's the liquid. You can tell when something's almost ready, fully evaporated, when you can leave a trail. Like, look, I'm leaving a trail. It's like the Red Sea.
And keep them up.
and it parts and very slowly goes back together. All right, so I'm gonna stop the heat here. I'm gonna add my little secret ingredient. Oh my god, the comments we're gonna get today. These coastal elites adding balsamic vinegar to nachos. Okay, so now we're going to assemble our nachos. This is not a commercial because Grape Jones is not paying me for this, but I love their cookie sheet, the Grape Jones cookie sheet. It's non-stick, which is fantastic. But even though it's non-stick, I'm just gonna spray it because the last thing you want is your nachos to stick to the board. So here's how we're gonna do this. I got 2 bags of nachos. I made these myself. It says Tostitos, but I actually cooked them myself and put them in this bag just to make it a little more authentic. So that's the first layer. So now we've got our black bean mixture, and we're gonna just add some dollops throughout. Oh, that already looks good. Doesn't that look good? You can see the way I cooked it, it's not gonna make these soggy. It's just gonna give them some heft and some, body. Okay, so that's half the mixture, and now, very controversial. I bought pre-grated extra sharp cheddar and Monterey Jack. It's controversial because almost anyone will tell you to grate it yourself. But for nachos, and by the time you eat this, it's gonna be so covered in so many different things. It's like you're not gonna notice if the cheese was grated yourself. So we're gonna put a layer of the extra sharp cheddar, and we're gonna do some of the Monterey Jack. Wow, this is gonna be very decadent. Okay, so then the craziest part is we do another layer. So this is like a meal. It's almost like you're making a lasagna. And we're going to layer on more tortilla chips. I'm gonna top it with more of this. And we're gonna do some more cheese. And we're not even done because we're gonna decorate this with sour cream and all our pickled vegetables. Into the 400-degree oven this goes. Oh my god, what do you think? Look at these nachos. Wow. I'm going to squiggle on like a restaurant would. And now we're gonna layer on some of our pickled stuff. Just scatter it. I mean, I don't think you have to be scientific about it. Just, you want color, you want texture. And then finally, we'll put some olives and just add some cilantro. We have achieved nacho paradise. There you go, nachos. Come on, that looks amazing. Okay, well, these are my nachos. I don't know what everyone else is gonna eat, but I'm very excited. Thank you for watching today's episode. If you wanna keep following me, you can follow me on Instagram at Amateur Gourmet, or subscribe to my newsletter at the Amateur Gourmet newsletter, which is on Substack, or subscribe to these videos just by clicking subscribe. I'm gonna just go for it. It's this way. And we'll see you back here next week. I'm gonna eat a nacho now. Ooh, this one looks perfect. Look at that. It has everything on it. Mmm.